How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. So this one's gonna be a controversial one. I can promise you that one because I know where the Bengals front office stands in the eyes of the Bengals fans right now, and I completely understand it. I'm on the same page with a lot of the perspectives. But also, as a Bengals fan, as a person, I try to make it a challenge to continuously challenge my own perspective, challenge my own beliefs, my opinions, try to see things from a different light, be open-minded to things, and not get caught just harping on one situation, not getting caught taking things for granted. And I wonder, as Bengals fans, are we taking the Brown family for granted? Are we not being appreciative enough? Are we not being grateful enough for what we have? Does that sound crazy? Absolutely. Absolutely does that sound crazy. In the light of we ain't signing our stars, in the light of we're letting these guys go, we're kind of the tactics of everything, and the fact that they're not bringing in anybody significant in free agency on the offensive line, the edge right, there's a lot of reasons to have the Brown family under heat right now. But at the end of the day, this is important. In the last 20 years, the Cincinnati Bengals have made playoffs 9 times. That is a 45% clip. Meanwhile, 37% of the teams in the league, for the majority, we expanded the playoffs, for the majority of that time, 37.5% of teams made playoffs, which means the Bengals were pretty significantly above the average for the amount of times you should have made playoffs in that time. Above average. And more importantly, they did it with 3 different quarterbacks. How many teams in this league can you look back in the last 20 years and say they made playoffs with 3 different quarterbacks? Now, of course, there are some. There's also teams that haven't found a quarterback in 20 years and have been trying to figure it out. It is very difficult to find good quality quarterbacks and start over. The Bengals did it 3 times. Look at the Patriots. Fell off a cliff after Brady left. Look at the Saints. Been irrelevant since Breeze left. Look at the Giants. Again, fell off a cliff. They had a little bit of hope for one season for the most part since Eli Manning left. It is extremely difficult to start over. It's extremely difficult to get your guy, to develop your guy. There are teams that do it. There are teams that have winning formulas that can just have an average quarterback. But there's a lot of teams that can't. There's a lot of teams that have struggled and struggled mightily to be a team like the Bengals and say, hey, completely gutted. Carson Palmer says, get me out of here. I want out of here. You talk about sending shockwaves. You talk about gutting a team. The very next, we'll talk about it. Let's talk about the very next year. You draft Andy Dalton in the 2nd round. 2nd round draft pick. How often do you plug and play a 2nd round draft pick? Should have sat him out a year? Maybe. Probably not, though, because Andy Dalton and this Bengals team would go on to make the playoffs 5 consecutive times, fresh out of the Carson Palmer debacle. The Bengals would then transition to Joe Burrow. 2nd year in the league, they make the playoffs. Super Bowl run. Carson Palmer, again, 2 years out of Kitna. Playoffs. Every single transition they made playoffs in the 2nd year that quarterback was under center. That is extremely difficult to do in the NFL. It is rare, and you do, to an extent, you have to credit the front office and this team they have developed, and this organization, and this staff, and this the people they put in this organization for building a team that can develop a quarterback, that can build a team that can put it in position to win football games. Now, again, we know the playoff success wasn't there. It could have been better, obviously. But to be at that point, to make playoffs, to be at that point where you're in December watching competitive football, one thing about we can relate to probably, one thing about watching Reds baseball, by the time August comes around, you're kind of over it. It's like, well, we're going to watch some prospects play. It's been like that for a lot of years. You watch, again, a lot of football teams. I can't stop thinking about the Jets and how bad they are and how irrelevant they are come December. As much as we'd love to see the Bengals playing in February, January, We at least get to watch fun and exciting football. It's very, very, very rarely have we gone into a Bengals season over the last 20 years where it just felt like we was completely helpless. Even this season, you're going to go into this season like, oh, they ain't really signed anybody on the defensive side of the football. They got some holes. But we got Joe freaking Burrow. Even with Andy Dalton, you went into the year with hope. Every single year you went into the year with hope. I was like, man, the playoffs are the playoffs. But you had hope that this team could win. There's teams going in year after year without that. And you wonder, as fans, do we take that for granted? Do we take how difficult it is to maintain sustained competitiveness in the NFL, especially in that quarterback transition phase? It'd be one thing if it was 20 years and Joe Burrow was your quarterback the whole time, or Carson Palmer was the quarterback the whole time. But to go through 3, it is difficult. Call it luck, call what you will. Teams get first overall picks every year that fall on their face. And the Bengals managed to draft 3 quarterbacks and hit on every single one of them. And that's the reason they've been exciting to watch. They've managed, as much as we question what they're doing in free agency, as much as we've seen the Jackson Carmens of the world, where Landon Dickerson, Evan Jenkins, like smushed right around that Bengals draft pick in the second round. Much as we see them miss on picks, they have at the end of the day, and I think this is where there's 2 sides of the coin. People say they've done just enough to be competitive, and they look at that as a negative because it's like they could do more, and I get it. But they've done just enough to be competitive. They could have done far less. They could be one of these football teams that are good for a year and they're terrible for the next 4 or the next 5, but instead, every quarterback they've had have created a team that's competitive. And I love, again, the thing is, I think a lot of what really gets the Bengals negative spotlight was Jesse Bates. Because besides Jesse Bates, he was the real main piece you look back and say, that was a big mistake to let him go. For the most part, the Bengals retained their players. They let him go in the 3rd year, but they retained the guys in-house. I still see people talking about DJ Reader. Well, DJ Reader took a step back last season. He missed some games. You let Cheeto Awuzie go, miss some games. You let these guys go. For the most part, they're making good calls. It's just the way they go about it. Like, let's drag out T. Higgins. Let's drag out Jamar Chase. By the looks of it, they're going to retain them both. They could have signed T a year ago. They could have signed Jamar a year ago, saved so much money. Now, again, the decisions, the way they go about business can drive you crazy. But if you just look at the Joe Burrow era, giving away the stadium naming rights, building the bubble, there's clearly the Bengals front office noticing there's some things they need to work on and change. And there's still their way of thinking of saying, hey, well, we've really, in all actuality, sustained success over the years doing some things the way we've been doing them. And we all know, I think most of us, I know a lot of the viewers of this, my channel are a little bit older. We know how most old people are. Old people, and there's nothing wrong with it. They've been on this planet for a long time. Most older people are stuck in their ways. It's very difficult to get somebody that's been on this planet for 50, 60, 70 years to go up and just change. And if they are willing to change, it's not going to happen overnight. And you look, again, Bengals front office, the Brown family, you do see some of those things changing. If T. Higgins and Jamar Chase get signed now, that's the Bengals changing. I know we're still looking, and this is the thing, this is why I say taken for granted and always looking at the negatives or being grateful of the positives. Like, yeah, we can look back and say, wow, they fumbled the T. Higgins and Jamar Chase situation. Sure did. But if the Bengals sign these 2 receivers this week, next week, the week after that, that's them changing. Because historically, they wait until August. They wait until September to sign their stars. They did it with Dalton. They did it with AJ Green. They did it with Joe Burrow. That's the way the Bengals have worked. They did it with Geno Atkins. That's the way they've worked. To lock guys down earlier and not play this waiting game to be as dramatic, that's a start. Now we can look at it as a negative and say they messed it up. It's all about perspective. But I do think, looking at things, again, I'm with the majority of fans where they do some things that drive me up the wall. But we're just driving ourselves up the wall by constantly trying to pick out what they're doing wrong instead of saying, hey, you know what? We could be the Browns right now. We could be the Giants right now. They got a long. The Browns may never figure it out. The Jets, same story. It just feels like they have no answers anytime soon. The Giants look like they got a long way to go. It's difficult. It is difficult to remain competitive. I mean, even if you throw on the 8-8 seasons, not just the winning seasons, not just the playoff season. The Bengals have 11 winning seasons since 2011. Yeah, 11 winning seasons since 2000. 9+ wins. That doesn't include the 8-8 seasons where they're competitive, consistent. There's only been a handful of seasons where the Bengals are just out of it. That last Dalton year, the Palmer injury year. There's not a lot. Lots to be appreciative of. And we don't really have a choice. And this is what's crazy to me. People are always like, sell the team, move the team. You sell the team, and there's a lot of people, especially if it's a player, the owner that wants the money that says, Cincinnati, I'm going to move this team here and make a lot more money. The thing with the Bengals is they can take Joe Burrow and this franchise anywhere because Joe Burrow is going to elevate this team wherever they go. I think we often, again, take for granted how quickly a different owner could pull the rug. We think Mike Brown doesn't care. Does Mike Brown really not care? Does an owner that's sitting there on that golf cart every freaking practice seem like an owner that doesn't care about winning? Be honest. Again, the way he goes about winning, the way he handles business, the way this organization handles business might drive you nuts. But to think that this man doesn't care about this football team and winning would be crazy. You gotta take it for granted. There's owners that don't care. They pocket the money. Look at the Pirates owner. They just pocket the change. They could care less if that team wins or not. They look at it as an investment. They're not invested into the football team. They're invested into making money. They might care about, winning championships, but it's not because they care about the team. It's because they know if that team wins championships, their net worth goes up, right? That's all a little appreciation post, if you will, about this Bengals front office. Nonetheless, love y'all's thoughts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.